Let me begin with something that may sound simple, but carries enormous weight. Before the world believes in you, you must believe in yourself. Not partially, not conditionally, completely. Most people are waiting for approval, waiting for applause, waiting for someone to say you're good enough. But self-belief does not begin with recognition. It begins with decision. It is a conscious choice to trust your own potential even when there is no evidence, no validation, and no guarantee of success. Psychologically, self-belief is the foundation of confidence because the human mind looks for proof. If you constantly tell yourself that you are incapable, your mind will gather evidence to support that narrative. You will hesitate. You will procrastinate. You will avoid opportunities. And then you will say, see, I knew I couldn't do it. It becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. But the opposite is also true. When you choose to believe in yourself, even before you have results, your mind begins searching for possibilities. Instead of limitations, you take risks. You speak up. You show up. And with every small action, you create proof that strengthens your belief. That is how confidence is built from the inside out. Philosophically, this comes down to one powerful idea. You are responsible for the meaning you assign to your life. No one else can define your worth unless you allow them to. Yet many of us surrender that power so easily. A rejection letter, a failed exam, a critical comment, and suddenly we question our entire identity. We confuse an event with who we are. But failure is an experience. It is not an identity. Self-belief requires intellectual honesty. It does not mean ignoring your weaknesses or pretending you are flawless. It means acknowledging your limitations while refusing to let them define your potential. It means understanding that growth is a process, not a performance. Consider this. Every expert was once a beginner. Every confident speaker was once nervous. Every successful individual has faced moments of doubt. The difference is not that they never questioned themselves. The difference is that they did not let doubt make their decisions. And that is where many people lose. They allow fear to vote. And fear always votes for safety. Fear tells you to stay quiet. Fear tells you not to apply. Fear tells you not to try because what if you fail? But self-belief asks a different question. What if you succeed? Believing in yourself is not arrogance. It is alignment. It is recognizing that you possess abilities, experiences, and perspectives that are uniquely yours. No one else has lived your exact life. No one else thinks exactly the way you do. That uniqueness is not accidental. It is potential waiting to be expressed. Yet society conditions us to seek external approval from a very young age. Grades, awards, likes, promotions. We are trained to measure our worth through external metrics. And while achievement is valuable, it becomes dangerous when it becomes the only source of validation. Because external validation is unpredictable. It fluctuates. It depends on other people's opinions, moods, and expectations. Self-belief, however, is stable. It is internal. It does not disappear when applause fades. When you truly believe in yourself, criticism becomes information, not destruction. Rejection becomes redirection, not humiliation. Challenges become opportunities to grow, not proof that you are inadequate. But let me be clear. Self-belief is not something you wake up with one day fully formed. It is cultivated. It is strengthened through deliberate action. You build it by keeping promises to yourself, by doing what you said you would do, by showing up even when it is inconvenient. Each time you honor your word, you send a powerful message to your subconscious. I can trust myself. And trust in oneself is the purest form of confidence. There will be moments when no one understands your vision, moments when support is limited, moments when you feel alone in your ambition. That is precisely when self-belief matters most. Because if you abandon yourself in those moments, who remains? You must become your own advocate your own supporter, your own voice of reason. Not in a way that isolates you from others, but in a way that anchors you. When the world shakes, your belief becomes your stability. Think about the person you could become if you stop doubting your capacity. Think about decisions you would make if you trusted your abilities just a little more. Think about the opportunities you would pursue if you were not waiting for permission. Believing in yourself does not guarantee success, but not believing in yourself guarantees stagnation. So do not wait for the world to approve of your dreams. Do not wait for perfect circumstances. Do not wait for confidence to magically appear. Decide today that your potential deserves your trust. Because the moment you start believing in yourself, you stop asking the world for permission to become who you are meant to be. Now, once you have made the decision to believe in yourself, the next question naturally arises: how do you strengthen that belief? Because belief without action remains fragile. It sounds good in theory, but it collapses under pressure, and this is where many people misunderstand confidence. They think confidence is a personality trait. They think it is something you are born with, like height or eye color. But confidence is not a gift. It is a construction. And the raw material of that construction is action. You do not become confident by waiting to feel ready. You become confident by moving while you still feel unprepared. Psychologically, confidence is built through evidence. Your brain is constantly collecting data about who you are. Every time you attempt something difficult, every time you step outside your comfort zone, you are providing your mind with proof that you are capable of growth. Perfection, on the other hand, is a trap. Perfectionism often disguises itself as high standards, but beneath it lies fear. Fear of judgment, fear of failure, fear of being exposed as inadequate. So we delay. We prepare endlessly. We refine and refine and refine, telling ourselves that we will act when the time is right. But the time is rarely perfect. And in waiting for perfection, we deny ourselves the opportunity to build confidence through experience. Philosophically, this connects to the idea that identity is shaped by behavior. We do not think our way into a new life. We act our way into it. If you want to see yourself as brave, you must behave bravely. If you want to see yourself as capable, you must attempt challenging things. Confidence is not created in isolation. It is forged in engagement with the world. Consider a simple example. The first time you speak in public, your hands may shake. Your voice may tremble. You may forget your line. If you interpret that experience as proof that you are bad at speaking, you will avoid it in the future. But if you interpret it as practice, as one step in a process, then you return to the stage. And each time you return, the fear loses its authority. Action weakens fear. This is not motivational rhetoric. It is psychological reality. Avoidance strengthens anxiety. Exposure reduces it. The more you avoid what scares you, the larger it becomes in your imagination. The more you face it, the more manageable it becomes. In reality, confidence grows not because fear disappears, but because you learn that you can function despite it. That is a powerful distinction. Many people believe that confident individuals are fearless. That is not true. Confident individuals feel fear deeply. The difference is that they refuse to negotiate with it. They understand that discomfort is not a signal to stop. It is often a signal that growth is taking place. And growth is rarely comfortable. Think about physical training. When you lift weights, you create small tears in your muscles. It is uncomfortable. It is strenuous. But those micro tears are precisely what allow the muscle to grow stronger. In the same way, when you take action despite uncertainty, you stretch your psychological limits. You expand your capacity. What once felt impossible begins to feel manageable. Confidence is the byproduct of repeated courageous behavior. It is also important to understand that action does not mean grand gestures. It does not require dramatic, life-altering decisions every day. Confidence is built in small, consistent steps. Making the phone call you have been avoiding, submitting the application, even if you doubt yourself. starting before you feel fully prepared. Each small act becomes a vote in favor of a stronger identity. And identity is powerful. When you begin to see yourself as someone who acts, not someone who hesitates, your entire posture toward life changes. There is another philosophical truth here. You cannot think your way out of insecurity. You can analyze it, understand its roots, even articulate it beautifully. But until you act differently, your self-concept remains the same. Insight is important, but implementation is transformative. So instead of asking, how can I become more confident? Ask yourself, what action would a confident person take in this situation? And then take that action. Not perfectly, not flawlessly, just honestly and courageously. Because perfection is not the goal. Progress is. When you allow yourself to be a beginner, you give yourself permission to grow. When you allow yourself to make mistakes, you give yourself permission to learn. And when you allow yourself to act before you feel ready, you give yourself permission to evolve. Confidence does not arrive before action. It arrives because of action. So stop waiting to feel fearless. Stop waiting to feel certain. Stop waiting to feel perfect. Move forward with trembling hands if you must. Speak with a shaking voice if you have to. Take the step anyway. Because the life you want is not built by those who wait. It is built by those who act despite doubt. And if you want to become confident, do not look for a feeling. Look for the next brave action and take it. And after you have chosen to believe in yourself, and after you have begun to act despite fear, there is one final battle you must face. The battle within your own mind. Because even with belief and action, there will be a voice that whispers, you are not enough. Self-doubt is subtle. It does not always scream. Sometimes it speaks softly, logically, even intelligently. It presents arguments. It reminds you of your past mistakes. It compares you to people who seem further ahead. It tells you to be realistic. And if you are not careful, you begin to mistake that voice for truth. But doubt is not truth. It is a habit of thought. Psychologically, our minds are wired to detect threats. Thousands of years ago, that instinct kept us alive. Today, that same mechanism often misfires. Instead of protecting us from physical danger, it tries to protect us from embarrassment, rejection, and failure. So it creates worst-case scenarios. It magnifies risks. It minimizes strengths. If you do not consciously challenge it, self-doubt becomes your internal narrator. And the most dangerous thing about an internal narrator is that you stop questioning it. You assume that because a thought exists, it must be valid. But not every thought deserves your trust. This is where intellectual discipline becomes essential. When Tao says, you will fail, ask, based on what evidence? When it says, others are better than you, ask, better according to whom? When it says, you are too late, ask, who decided the timeline? Most of the limitations we accept are not facts. They are interpretations. Comparison is one of the strongest fuels of self-doubt. We live in a world where we constantly see the highlights of other people's lives, their achievements, their milestones, their polished moments. What we do not see are their struggles, their uncertainties, their silent battles. Yet we compare our behind the scenes to their public victories and conclude that we are inadequate. But you cannot compare journeys that began at different starting points. Philosophically, each human being occupies a unique position in time and circumstance. Your experiences, your challenges, your culture, your resources, they are specific to you. To measure your worth against someone else's path is irrational. It ignores context. It ignores individuality. It ignores the complexity of life. Confidence grows when you shift from comparison to ownership. Ownership means recognizing that your strengths may not look like someone else's strengths. And that is perfectly acceptable. Not everyone is meant to speak loudly. Not everyone is meant to lead visibly. Some strengths are quiet. Some are analytical. Some are compassionate. Some are creative. Confidence is not about fitting into a predefined mold. It is about understanding your design and embracing it fully. But embracing your strengths also requires accepting your imperfections. True confidence is not the denial of weakness. It is the integration of it. It is the understanding that flaws do not cancel worth. In fact, they humanize you. They make growth possible. When you stop fighting your imperfections and start working with them, you reclaim energy that was previously wasted on self-criticism. There is also a deeper philosophical layer to this. At the core of self-doubt is often the fear of insignificance, the fear that you do not matter. But meaning is not granted from the outside. It is created from the inside. You matter because you exist. Your presence affects others in ways you may never fully understand. Your choices ripple outward. When you silence your own voice, the world loses something it cannot replace. And let me be very clear, silencing doubt does not mean eliminating it entirely. Doubt may still visit. It may still attempt to question your path. The difference is that you no longer allow it to dominate. You acknowledge it, you evaluate it, and then you decide consciously whether it deserves influence. That is power. Owning your power does not require arrogance. It requires clarity. It requires knowing your values, your goals, your boundaries. It requires saying, this is who I am, and this is what I stand for, even if it makes some people uncomfortable. Especially if it makes some people uncomfortable. Because when you constantly shrink to fit other people's expectations, you slowly disconnect from yourself. And disconnection breeds insecurity. But when you stand fully in your identity, strengths, weaknesses, ambitions, and all, you create internal alignment. And alignment produces confidence that is steady, not fragile. So the next time doubt whispers, do not panic, do not surrender, pause, question it, challenge it, and then remind yourself of your journey, of the belief you chose and the actions you have taken. You are not the same person you were yesterday. You are evolving. Confidence is not loud. It is not boastful. It is quiet certainty. It is the calm decision to keep moving forward, even where uncertainty lingers. And perhaps the most powerful shift you can make is this. Instead of asking, am I good enough? Begin asking, am I being true to myself? Because when you are true to yourself, comparison fades, doubt weakens, and your presence becomes authentic. In the end, the world does not need a smaller version of you. It does not need you diluted by fear or restrained by comparison. It needs you aware of your worth and courageous enough to express it. So silence the voice that tells you to shrink and stand fully in who you are.